This is part 4, book quote reading from my Zen mind balcony. How peaceful it is, just reading and drinking some tea, enjoying the fresh air. As we think about how the brain works, it is natural to ask this question. How is it possible that a group of brain cells can work together to create a personality at all? I'm not the first person to ask this question, nor am I the first to experience a brain trauma, exhibit a change in personality, and then recover the traumatized cells, regaining old circuits, old skill sets, and lost personality traits. However, I may be the first neuroanatomist to take this particular journey deep into the neural and psychological workings of my brain, and then walk away with these unique insights concerning our 4 characters. Brain cells are beautiful little creatures that come in many different shapes and sizes, and their design dictates their ability to perform their specific function. For example, the sensory neurons located in the primary auditory cortex of each of our hemispheres have a unique shape that supports their ability to process sound information. Other neurons that function to interconnect different regions in the brain have an appropriate shape for that action, as do the cells of the motor system. At any moment in time, both hemispheres have cells that are active, but opposing hemisphere cell groups dance between dominance and inhibition. In this way, one hemisphere has the power to inhibit the function of the comparable cells in the opposite hemisphere, dominating the function of that particular group of cells. For example, when we are focused on the words and meaning of what someone is saying, left brain, we tend to not be so focused on the inflection of their voice or the emotional content, right brain, of what they are communicating. Vice versa. Have you ever been so stunned that someone was yelling at you that you completely missed the point they were trying to make? Clearly, we have 2 hemispheres for a reason, and without our left brain, we are completely non-functional in the external world, in that we have no past or future, no linear thought, no language, and no sense of the boundaries of where we begin or end. Our left brain offers us our individuality, while our right brain connects us with the consciousness of not only the collective whole of humanity, but the vast expansive consciousness of the universe. By having both of these hemispheres working together inside of one head, we experience a natural duality. As a result, it is normal for us to endure an ongoing internal conflict based completely on the 2 uniquely autonomous perspectives of our left and right brain. Also, you don't have to look far to recognize how marketeers have mastered their advertising strategies to target our right or left brain preferences. Even our computer systems fit the bill. Apple products are viewed as right brain, creative, while anything Windows-based screams left brain, analytical. That's funny. I really love Apple. It's so easy to use, and any other brand I have my issues with. How the two hemispheres function. In addition to these pop science efforts that have been designed to capitalize on the stereotypical differences between our two hemispheres, a tome of evidence-based science now offers us a pretty clear understanding of both the anatomical and functional differences between the two halves of our brain. For anyone interested in both the big picture and the details about what we have learned concerning these differences over the last half-century, The Master and His Emissary, a book by the British psychiatrist Dr. Ian McGilchrist, is a fascinating and up-to-date read. In addition, if you are interested in how a Harvard psychiatrist works with the left and right brain characters in an attempt to help his patients heal issues related to mental illness, the book Of Two Minds by Dr. Frederick Schiffer is a real eye-opener. It even addresses how our two hemisphere characters are so different that each may actually manifest unique aches and pains that the other does not acknowledge or exhibit. Moreover, if you are looking for an alternative tool in how you might manage mental health issues, Dr. Richard Schwartz's internal family systems model is an interesting strategy that recognizes and works with the different parts of a person's personality, so they can collaborate to find a healthy solution. Which brings to mind this awesome book, Healing the Fragmented Selves of Trauma Survivors, Overcoming Internal Self-Alienation by Dr. Janina Fisher. And in this book she also describes different approaches, how to work with the parts. It helped me understand quite a lot about trauma. Healing the Fragmented Selves of Trauma Survivors integrates a neurobiologically informed understanding of trauma, dissociation, and attachment with a practical approach to treatment, all communicated in straightforward language accessible to both client and therapist. Readers will be exposed to a model that emphasizes resolution, a transformation in the relationship to oneself, replacing shame, self-loathing, and assumptions of guilt with compassionate acceptance. Its unique interventions have been adapted from a number of cutting-edge therapeutic approaches, including sensory-motor psychotherapy, internal family systems, mindfulness-based therapies, and clinical hypnosis. Readers will close the pages of Healing the Fragmented Selves of Trauma Survivors with a solid grasp of therapeutic approaches to traumatic attachment, working with undiagnosed dissociative symptoms and disorders, integrating right brain to right brain treatment methods, and much more. Most of all, they will come away with tools for helping clients create an internal sense of safety and compassionate connection to even their most disowned selves. And it really hits the nail on the head. It's a great book. If you read Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's Whole Brain Living along with this one, they really complement each other. Each of these books and tools is fascinating if you are interested in learning more about the brain. I will admit that I truly enjoyed not having any of the pain from my past in my left brain emotional module anymore, as I did not miss those tragic emotional circuits of my childhood. Yet, having said that, life without the richness of deep emotions is a flat place to exist. This left brain emotional character too feels and knows our past pain, and it is this character that takes us right up to the edge of our potential growth and either pushes us over that edge or retreats us back into the safety of what feels familiar. I have to know what is safe and not safe if I am to define the boundaries of my safety. I have to know what is right for me in order to know what is not right. I have to know darkness or sadness to recognize light or joy. It is our left brain emotional character too, who screams, wails, and rages against all those injustices that it has perceived as hurtful, dangerous, or unfair. It also holds us back, flees or freezes when something triggers our fear. During my recovery, the newly dominant right-thinking character 4, who felt open, expansive, kind, and as big as the universe, was not too keen on letting the recovered, stress-driven character 1 of my left-thinking brain waltz right back in to dominate my consciousness. Although I have to say, I was thrilled to have those neural networks back in action, so I could speak and understand when others spoke to me, and know the boundaries of my body again. I preferred embodying the never-ending peaceful gratitude of my character 4's open heart. That is why I consciously chose to remain right brain dominant. And if I can choose which circuitry I want to run, so can you. When I experienced the hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of my brain, most of those cells simply went offline because of the inflammation, swelling, and pressure buildup within my skull. In response to the trauma, the left brain cells that had dominated my right brain cells via the corpus callosum released their inhibition over those cells in my right brain. Just as with the split brain patients, when this occurred, the characters of my left thinking and left emotional networks receded, while the comparable characters of my right brain's thinking and emotional modules became untethered, unfettered, newly dominant, and free to run wild. I experienced the stroke as more of a slow pipe leak than an instantaneous power outage. As a result, my right brain retained the ability to replay the memory of the morning of the stroke, much like a video. By the time my left brain finally shut down completely, I had drifted into the peaceful consciousness of my right brain, where I lost all sense of urgency. Temporarily, my right brain existed solely in the present moment, with no past regrets, present fears, or future expectation. My right mind is all about the richness of this present moment. It is filled with gratitude for my life and everyone and everything in it. It is content, compassionate, nurturing, and eternally optimistic. To my right mind character, there is no judgment of good, bad, or right, wrong, so everything exists on a continuum of relativity. It takes things as they are, and acknowledges what is in the present. As a result, my perception of myself became altered. Instead of a physical being, I experienced myself to be an energy ball that was as big as the universe. Shifted into this consciousness of my right brain, I perceived the essence of myself as enormous and expansive, and my spirit soared free, like a great whale gliding through a sea of silent euphoria. Emotionally, I went from feeling the normal emotions I had experienced in my pre-stroke life to feeling nothing except a sense of peaceful bliss. In order for me to choose the chaos of recovery over the peaceful tranquility of the divine bliss that I had found in the absence of the judgment of my left mind, I had to reframe my perspective from "Why do I have to go back?" to "Why did I get to come to this place of silence?" I realized that the blessing I had received from this experience was the knowledge that deep internal peace is accessible to anyone at any time. I believe the experience of nirvana exists in the consciousness of our right hemisphere, and that at any moment we can choose to hook into that part of our brain. With this awareness, I became excited about what a difference my recovery could make in the lives of others, not just those who were recovering from a brain trauma, but everyone with a brain. I imagined the world filled with happy and peaceful people, and I became motivated to endure the agony I would have to face in the name of recovery. My stroke of insight would be, peace is only a thought away, and all we have to do to access it is silence the voice of our dominating left mind. Jill Bolte Taylor exactly describes this state of mind. She gave a very famous TED Talk, which you can watch online, or you can also listen to her interviews, which are also very enlightening.
So I guess, one of the things in terms of this whole brain living and just really talking about what you've been researching, what you're teaching, is how does this whole brain living and how, like, what is it, and how does it fit in a generalized idea that we only use 10% of our brain? We'll just start there to kind of get the playing field, and then I have like 1,000 more questions.
So there are two myths that we're going to bust right now. One is that we use 10% of our brain. The way neurons are like people. They're very social creatures. They live inside of a network. They stimulate by, they're just, effusive. And when they get locked out of the network, they curl up into a little ball and they tend to die. And just like people do. So if it's alive and it's in your brain, you're using it. Now, we might only know and understand, and that's not even true. We understand quite a bit about what these cells are doing inside of our brain. So I'm going to say you're already using your brain. Now, the other myth is that we have been taught that the right brain is our emotional brain, and our left brain is our rational brain. And although it is true that our left thinking tissue is our rational brain, our emotional system is evenly divided in the two hemispheres. All right. So what that means is that we have two amygdala, and most people have heard these terms, two amygdala, two hippocampi, and two anterior cingulate gyri making up those emotional systems. All right. Now, the thing about the right hemisphere is it's right here, right now. Present moment experience. So it has emotions of the present moment, and it has a thinking tissue in the present moment. The left brain is the machine that takes us into the past and can project us into the future. So we have the left emotional tissue is all our emotions from the past. All of our trauma, all of our pain. It's also our addiction and our craving tissue. And then we also have in the left thinking portion of our brain, all of our thoughts and memories and understanding about the past and the ability to think across time and project into the future. So we have these two very different machines inside of our head, and each of them have their emotional and they each have their thinking. And those are actually four very specific, anatomically separate modules of cells.
Okay.
I was giving a presentation a few years ago, and I said, well, I love talking about the brain right now because people like to learn about their brain, and they know the language like the amygdala and the hippocampus. But the fact of the matter is we have two amygdala, and there was an audible gasp in the room. Like, I didn't know that. And it was like, well, no wonder people don't understand. They have two separate emotional systems. So nothing makes sense. How can you have conflicting emotions if all you have is one emotional module of cells? That makes no sense, right? Wow. But if you have two now, all of a sudden, they're in relationship with one another. And one is of the past and one is of the present. And those are completely different experiences and emotional processing. So the new book is called Whole Brain Living.
Right.
Okay. And the whole brain are the two thinking brains, modules of cells, and the two emotional modules of cells.
Right.
The subtitle is The Anatomy of Choice. Imagine that. The anatomy of choice. And the four characters that drive our life. So let's talk about the four characters that drive our life, because that, when I ended that TED Talk that you saw, I said to you, I ended it with, we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And I had over 300,000 people write to me and say, how do I do that? And I had to think about it because I lost my left brain and became the right brain. And then I had to rebuild the left brain. But then everybody's asking me, how do I get from the left brain into the right brain? And I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it, and I didn't know how to communicate it until I told that audience we have two amygdala, and they gasped. And then I realized they don't understand we have two thinking brains and two emotional brains, and that's whole brain living. So I want to take you through those 4 characters.
Yes, please.
And then we'll talk about the communication between those different characters inside of our brain.
Yep.
And how, oh my gosh, now I understand my 4 characters, and I understand the 4 characters in every other human being. And now I understand that how my characters line up with their characters as a match or as a miss. Yeah, it's powerful.
Okay. All right. Let's go into the 4 characters immediately. I'm like, right now I need to know. Okay. What are they?
Character, if you take a brain and it's looking at you, right? Like my brain is looking at you.
Right.
And you cut the corpus callosum and you spread them apart like 2 wings. Okay. So then you have left thinking tissue is character 1.
Okay.
Left emotion tissue is character 2. Right emotion character is number 3. And right thinking tissue is character 4. Okay? So those are literally different groups of cells in your brain. Okay? Character number 1, left thinking. This is our rational thinking brain. Okay. It is all about the external world. It likes to organize it. It categorizes. It thinks in language. It likes to control people, places, and things, right? This is our type A character. It thinks quickly using language. So it likes to make lists, and it likes to be the boss. It defines what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. It defines the structure of our life. Okay? That's character 1. Do you recognize that part of yourself, Julie?
Oh, I'm like, how many lists? I was like, well, I definitely identify as type A plus. Not just type A. I was like type A plus. So I'm like, oh, I really, really identify here right now.
I love that. Now, character 1 makes judgment, but it's critically analyzing information and data. It's not that negative, mean judgment. Okay? It's making critical analysis and discriminating smaller and smaller details. It's defining. It's a fantastic tool that we use to organize our world.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, it's non-emotional. By definition, it is thinking tissue.
Okay.
All right? So it's a wonderful tool. Now, I have named all my characters. I encourage everybody to name your characters so that they gain an identity, so that you're actually talking about your own characters and they can relate to one another.
Love it. Do you name them like
I have
Amy?
Yeah, I've named my character 1 Helen. She's hell on wheels. She gets it done. On wheels, I get it done.
I've got Helen.
Character number 2 is all the emotion of the past. Now, how do we even get a past? How does our brain, which is this magnificent thing processing billions and trillions of bits of data in every moment, how does it come up with a past? And it comes up with a past because these little cells in our character 2 were willing to step out of the present moment, which is where bliss and euphoria and God and infinite being and no boundary is. It was willing to step out of that blissful euphoria so that it could save our life. And those cells were designed to take whatever's happening in the present moment and compare it to anything we ever experienced in the past to save our life.
Wow.
We owe an incredible sense of gratitude to that group of cells. In that emotional tissue is the amygdala and the hippocampus and the limbic cells of our past emotion. Okay, so that means that is our fight or flight. So for example, let's say when I was young, I had a terrible experience with a dog that was a certain breed. It bit me, all right? Or it tried to bite me while I was riding my bike. So now, every time I see a dog, those groups of cells go back in time and say, that kind of a dog was a major threat. And so I'm going to push away from that and say no. Okay? So that's what that little group of cells does. It says, give me a reason to say no, that's dangerous and a threat to me. And so it's going to act out, and it's going to blame, and it's going to name call, and it's going to be unhappy, and it's going to rage, and it's going to self-loathe, and it's going to all those negative emotions that come from our past. It is our guilt from our past. It is resentment from something's happened before. It is how I shame myself by something I did in the past. It's all that to save our lives.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So now all of a sudden, this little character, I call my Abby. Abby is short for abandoned, because the moment I came flying out of my mother's womb, all of a sudden I left this enormous, warm, wet, beautiful heartbeat, symbiotic connection to all that I had been for 9 months. And during that 9 months of development in my mother's womb, we multiplied at a rate of 250,000 new cells per second. Per second. So I was a part of this beautiful thing. Bam, I was born. I inhale now oxygen and air instead of being in a liquid environment. It was a physiological traumatic event, and I'm going to call that my original abandonment.
Wow. Wow.
And then every other piece of unhappy abandonment, give me a reason to push away, gets built inside of that little character 2 emotional tissue.
Amazing.
And that's it's a character. You know that part of you. You know when you get in that mode, in that character, what it feels like in your body, where it is held in your body, your voice changes, probably get louder, or you want to run away. It's it is fight or flight. This character is designed to save our lives. And how many of us go to therapy in order to fix that poor little character, or to just cut it out? And it's like, no, that little character is the original wound that allows us to have a sacred past and a sacred future. It gives us temporality across time. It is our bridge across time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
All right. Character number 3.
The next number 3.
Character number 3 is the emotion in the present moment, because the right brain is right here, right now. And when I lost my left hemisphere, I lost the past and the future, but I was in bliss because this is a perfect moment. I'm alive. So the emotions of the present moment is less like the emotions of the left brain, which have to do with things I'm relating to the external world so much, but it's experiential. So character 3 is emotional experience. So how does my clothing feel on my skin? What is the temperature of the air? What is the humidity of the air? What is the sunlight as it dances in and dapples my entire environment? What is my experience of the present moment? What am I hearing? I'm hearing birds singing. I even hear a little bit of breeze tapping something on my home. I hear my AC or my furnace. What is my experience of the present moment?
Beautiful.
Okay. Now, it's also an adrenaline junkie, because I want my present moment experience to be fast and fun and interesting. And it's a collective whole, because to my right brain, there's no boundaries of where we begin and where we end. And I love to be with other people. So it's communal, it's tribal. It's exciting. It's enthusiastic. It's creative, because it doesn't have that judgment of the left brain saying, no, you have to color inside of the lines. It says, I just want to color and make a mess. It's enthusiastic. And the first process of the first step of the creative process is chaos. Yeah. And it's good in chaos. It likes chaos. It doesn't want a schedule. It doesn't want a plan. It doesn't want sequential thinking. It just wants the explosion of right here, right now. So I have named my character 3 Pigpen. Do you remember, Charles Schulz's Peanuts? You remember the little character who walks around in a dust storm?
Oh my God, that's so good. Yeah.
He's in a mess all the time. No judgment. He's just present and following everybody around, and he's happy.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so true. I just got the image.
She is Joy.
I'm like, she's Joy. Yeah. All right. Calling her Joy.
Character number 4 is where you keep pushing yourself toward.
Yeah.
It's the thinking tissue of the right brain. Now, think about this. When you were originally conceived, you were one cell, the zygote cell. The egg DNA from your mother, the sperm DNA from your father comes together as a single cell called the zygote cell. And the zygote has energy inside of it, and it is in an energy field, right? So inside of the cellular construct of your mother's womb. Okay, so the energy of that cell multiplies and divides, multiplies and divides, multiplies and divides, because the DNA is multiplying, and then the cells are dividing to repackage the new DNA at a rate ultimately of 250,000 new cells per second, right? There is no single consciousness going on. There is the consciousness of the whole, and the consciousness of the whole matches the consciousness of the universe. It's the driving force. It's the energy. It is the consciousness within which that baby body forms, right? So the thinking tissue of that character 4 is that consciousness that connects us to the consciousness of the universe. Now, the right brain has zero judgment, which means it isn't packaged inside of here. How do I know that this face is mine, but these glasses, even though they sit on my face all day, are not me, right? Because there's a group of cells in my left brain that defines the boundaries of where I begin and where I end, and it creates a holographic image, and these glasses are not a part of it because they're inanimate. But that's in the left brain. So the left brain knows that this is me and this is where I begin and end, but my right brain doesn't have that perception. My right brain knows I'm a ball of energy and I'm an organic mass of cells, this magnificent 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses, and I'm as big as the universe. So it doesn't matter where you are, your energetic and my energetic are overlapping and entwined with one another, except for that sense in that left brain. Okay, so the consciousness of our God or our infinite being or Allah or whatever you want to call it, we are connected to that through that consciousness of our character 4. It is an actual anatomical portal, if you will, that allows us to have that experience. So my character 4, she is open, expansive. She loves, she's the consciousness of love. She is nurturing. She is supportive. She absolutely accepts with an A everything as it is, and it is filled with a sense of gratitude that I exist at all. Oh my gosh, I'm alive. I'm alive, and I have eyes that allow me to see, and hands that allow me to manipulate the space around me, and legs that carry me, so that I'm not like a tree that is planted. And it's like, this is the, oh my gosh, this is the glow, right? This is the complete brain glow. And that's the consciousness of our 4. And so I call mine Queen Toad. And I call her Queen Toad because she is a queen of the universe. We all are. Yeah. We, you know, and if we're men, if you're comfortable with being a queen too, you are. It's the feminine energetic of love, or call yourself king of all that is. But it is a queen and it is a toad because I'm a bit goofy and I live on a boat half a year on my lily pad. You know? So that's unique to me. So you need to give your character, what was your character 3's name?
It was Joy.
Joy. And what is the character of your 4?
All right, I'm playing off of yours. This is so fun. I'm going to call her Queen Lotus.
Beautiful.
Queen Lotus. I was just talking, and I have one I'm looking at, not a real one, but a crystal one, but that we're always opening and folding and unfolding. Yet there's, you know, it grows in the mud, but it's just, yeah, Queen Lotus. That was like, yeah, that's the name, Queen Lotus.
It's beautiful. And that's exactly, it's the energetic of the lotus. So, those characters are anatomically in your brain. So now think about it. Let's say something happens. Someone comes in and says something to me, and I have a choice. Do I respond to the, first of all, are they in their 1, 2, 3, or 4? Now you can tell.
Yeah.
You can recognize these different affects of different people.
Yeah.
And you know who you are. And so you have the power to say in this moment, I call this the brain huddle. Every moment you have the opportunity to say, brain huddle, need a brain huddle, right? Let's say something's happened and you're thinking brain huddle. And so all of your characters are in their huddle and you're going to yourself, what is my next best response for my life to be what I want my life to be? And in that moment, you have the power to choose which of these 4 characters you advance into the world. Character 1 can come online and try to fix a problem. Character 2 can come online and tit for tat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Character 3 can come online and say, let's go play. Character 4 can come online and say, I got you. I love you. I support you. What do you need from me? How do I hear you? You have the power to choose moment by moment who and how you want to be. And it is knowing your own 4 characters that are anatomically. So, and think about this, the 4 characters anatomically from a behavioral perspective are identical to Jungian's 4 archetypes.
Oh, wow.
That's why the 4 archetypes are there, because they're in the anatomy of the brain.
For me, the literal penny dropped when I finally got it. I have experienced these states in a less extreme way, but I know exactly what she's talking about when she speaks about having experienced nirvana. So she writes, in that talk I shared with the audience my story of surviving a massive cerebral hemorrhage in which the left hemisphere of my brain shut down and the right hemisphere became dominant. I described how I, through the eyes of a neuroscientist, watched with fascination as my circuits and faculties went offline. I took the audience on a journey into deterioration of my left brain, whereby I shifted into a state of peaceful euphoria and oneness with the universe, unlike anything I had ever known before. I wondered how much of my newly found right hemisphere consciousness, set of values, and resultant personality I would have to sacrifice in order to recover the skills of my left mind. I didn't want to lose my connection to the universe. I didn't want to experience myself as a solid separate from everything. I didn't want my mind to spin so fast that I was no longer in touch with my authentic self. Frankly, I didn't want to give up nirvana. What price would my right hemisphere consciousness have to pay so I could once again be judged as normal? Among other things, our left hemisphere categorizes information into hierarchies, including things that attract us, our likes, or repel us, our dislikes. It places the judgment of good on those things we like and bad on those things we dislike. Through the action of critical judgment and analysis, our left brain constantly compares us with everyone else. It keeps us abreast of where we stand on the financial scale, academic scale, honesty scale, generosity of spirit scale, and every other scale you can imagine. Our ego mind revels in our individuality, honors our uniqueness, and strives for independence. Became empathic to what others felt. Although I could not understand the words they spoke, I could read volumes from their facial expression and body language. I paid very close attention to how energy dynamics affected me. I realized that some people brought me energy while others took it away. One nurse was very attentive to my needs. Was I warm enough? Did I need water? Was I in pain? Naturally, I felt safe in her care. She made eye contact and was clearly providing me with a healing space. A different nurse, who never made eye contact, shuffled her feet as though she were in pain. This woman brought me a tray with milk and jello, but neglected to realize that my hands and fingers could not open the containers. I desperately wanted to consume something, but she was oblivious to my needs. She raised her voice when she spoke to me, not realizing that I wasn't deaf. Under the circumstances, her lack of willingness to connect with me scared me. I did not feel safe in her care. When we evaluate the unique characteristics of the two cerebral hemispheres and how they process information differently, it seems obvious that they would manifest unique value systems that would consequently result in very different personalities. Some of us have nurtured both of our characters and are really good at utilizing the skills and personalities of both sides of our brain, allowing them to support, influence, and temper one another as we live our lives. Others of us, however, are quite unilateral in our thinking, either exhibiting extremely rigid thinking patterns that are analytically critical, extreme left brain, or we seldom connect to a common reality and spend most of our time with our head in the clouds, extreme right brain, creating a healthy balance between our two characters enables us the ability to remain cognitively flexible enough to welcome change, right hemisphere, and yet remain concrete enough to stay apace, left hemisphere. Our brain's theme, the four characters. The unsung beauty of the split brain experiments that I described in the last chapter is that they support, with convincing neuroanatomical evidence, the existence of the four characters. Surgically separating our two brain hemispheres has scientifically shown us that they are not simply two anatomically separate halves of a whole. Instead, the two halves of our brain house completely different character profiles that each exhibit unique wants, dreams, interests, and desires. For some reason that I am unsure of, modern science has backpedaled away from many of the insights we gained from the split brain research of the 70s, specifically concerning the diverse and often antagonistic characters residing in each half of our brain. Perhaps this idea faded simply as collateral damage when scientists rushed in to squelch the exaggerated public hype. Or perhaps not everyone, including the scientists involved, was cognizant of their own multiplicity of personality, and as a result, those original seeds of knowledge did not receive the water they required for future growth. In the My Stroke of Insight TED Talk, I purposefully went out on a limb when I stated our two cerebral hemispheres think about different things. They care about different things, and, dare I say, they have very different personalities. Be it a popular idea or not, I am bringing buckets of water to revive this very important conversation. Anatomically, each of us has a whole brain, and we each have all four characters. You may find, however, that one of your four characters may be dominating, or another part may rarely show up. If it turns out that you absolutely cannot identify with any of the four characters, you might ask your spouse or a trusted friend if they know that part of you. Please note that although we all exhibit thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that we are not proud of, none of the four characters is bad, wrong, or not worthy of our love, and respect. In addition, it is not unusual that our perspective of ourselves is different from how others view us. We have the ability to interrupt the automatic circuitry of our emotional reactivity and consciously choose which of the 4 characters we want to have as dominant in any moment. Knowing our 4 characters and being able to recognize them in others enables us to interact more authentically in a whole brain way. We have the power to purposely build healthy and healing relationships with others. The 4 characters, as I outline them in this book, provide a neuroanatomical roadmap of the time-tested paradigm of Jung's 4 archetypes. Like a house with 4 rooms, 2 upstairs and 2 downstairs, our brain is the home of all of these 4 characters. Within minimal effort, we can train ourselves to identify each of them within our own psyche, purposefully create healthy relationships between them, and then let them collectively, as our brain team, lead our lives in peace. In addition, it is worth noting that the 4 characters coincide distinctly with Carl Jung's 4 major archetypes of the unconscious mind. Character 1, the persona. Character 2, the shadow. Character 3, the animus, anima. And character 4, the true self. In the classic story of the hero's journey, the hero heeds the call to leave behind his rational, ego-based consciousness that processes the reality of the external world. In the language of the 4 characters, the hero must step out of the ego-based consciousness of his character 1, left-thinking brain, to enter into the unconscious realm of his right brain. To embark upon this quest, the hero must be willing to let go of his possessions and worldly knowledge, and embrace the death of his ego's individuality. To paraphrase Einstein, we must be willing to give up what we are in order to become what we will be. As you might imagine, this is an enormous task for the hero to undertake, which is why, of course, he is described as heroic. He must be willing to set aside everything he has acquired and grown up to be, much like the journey of the Buddha, who famously set aside his position and worldly possessions in order to grasp the true nature of reality and attain enlightenment. But once the hero chooses to shed the rational ego-based individuality of his left brain, he enters into the realm of his unconscious right brain, where he will meet the anima, animus, the androgynous nature of his soul. The hero cannot be both characters, his individual and collective selves, in the same moment. He must lay down the justice-demanding judgment of his dominating left brain, characters 1 and 2, if he is to embody the merciful characters of his compassionate right brain. character 3 and 4, friendly, loves unconditionally, trusts, supports, grateful, goes with the flow, creative, innovative. I believe that the more time we spend choosing to run the deep inner peace, I lost the function of my left brain's neurological networks. I lost not only function, but also a variety of personality characteristics that were apparently associated with those circuits of aptitude. Recovering cells of function that were anatomically linked to a lifetime of emotional reactivity and negative thinking has been a mind-opening experience. Although I wanted to regain my left hemisphere skills, I must say that there were personality traits that tried to rise from the ashes of my left mind that, quite frankly, were no longer acceptable to my right hemisphere sense of who I now wanted to be.
That if I had not been a neuroanatomist, a brain scientist, and lost half my mind, and then had my right brain uninhibited, so I know who she is, and I know what the emotion is of that, and I know what the thinking is of that, and then I had to use my right brain to rebuild my left brain. And by the time my emotions from my past had died, they were gone. That was gone. Abby didn't exist anymore. Right. So I had to reboot and gain that part of my brain again, because it is designed to save my life. So now I knew Abby, but I had to consciously build Helen because those skill sets were gone. And you have to be a functional human being, which means you have to have a functional left thinking character. You have to do that. Yeah. So, and then when Helen came back online as a personality, that's when I realized, oh my gosh, these are the 4 characters, and Helen wants to take over and be the boss of my brain again. And Queen Toad is going, I don't think so. And little Pigpen's going, well, she's no fun. I don't want to do that. Don't let her do that. And it was like, so we negotiated with Helen and said, Helen, we love you. Welcome to the team. But no, we're a democracy and we're going to vote. And no, no, because the left brain has very different values than the right brain. Yeah. The right brain is the collective whole of humanity. The left brain is about me and mine. Yeah. And it's the me and mine. Our value structure has been skewed to the left as a society. So it's all about Helen and Abby. It's all about, me and what's right and what's wrong. And I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong. And I'm going to be on that hierarchy and I want to be higher than you. So we're going to compete and it's going to be like dog eat dog. And it's like the world really is. That we have created. Yeah. But then we have these right hemispheres that saying, but we don't have meaning in our lives and we don't find our meaning and our purpose because that's in the consciousness of our right brain. But we exist in a left brain that says, well, playtime, that's a waste of time. Yeah, totally. So one is saying to character 3, I don't value you. Go away. And then the monkey mind of our left brain, and all the negative emotions of little Abby. And then when poor 4 doesn't have a voice because character 4 doesn't speak in language. Character 4 speaks in the consciousness of our body. And if we don't slow down and listen to our breath and our body and slow everything down and get rid of the to-do list and get rid of the just constant barrage of those thoughts, we can't hear our character 4 unless we make space, because it is the space. So that's why if we go to nature and we let ourselves open and we feel full and we focus on expansion and we communicate with the creatures around us and nature, and we allow that part of ourselves to speak, then we can hear it.
Walk around with open eyes. See the beauty. Create beauty in some form, if this is what you love to do, if this fulfills you, if this gives you joy.
But we got to let that left brain. So as you were mentioning earlier about meditation, meditation is the tool the left brain is using to quiet itself enough in order to find the rest of the story of who and what we are as a right brain.
When we are born, we have no sense of individuality, and our two brain hemispheres are similar in both their structure and in what they value. Over time, however, our left brain cells develop the ability to define the physical boundaries of where we begin and end, and with that, identification of self, we gain the ability to perceive ourselves as individuals who are separate from the whole. It is in those moments that the droplet of our left brain's individual consciousness becomes separate from that sea of cosmic consciousness from which it came. Before the hero's left brain ego cells developed his perception of himself as an individual, he possessed the collective knowledge of his right brain's unconscious mind. With time, as the individuation of his left brain developed, it grew to dominate and inhibit the knowledge of his right brain mind. Consequently, the cosmic consciousness of his right brain shifted into the background, becoming his unconscious intuition. Left brain consciousness. Our left brain is designed to create order out of the randomness of the cosmic flow, and just as the eagle is capable of zooming its focus in on that prairie dog, our left brain is capable of distinguishing two items as separate from one another by examining their differences. Once our left brain identifies two things as separate, it can then organize and categorize those things based upon their details. Besides the ability to differentiate between things, somewhere along the line our left brain manages to manifest both an identity and a consciousness. Without writing a dissertation, for our purposes, I will define consciousness for the left brain as an awareness of itself and its relationship with the external world. The primary building blocks of the physical world are things, and as I noted above, our left brain is the masterful tool we use to perceive a thing as separate from the background of the cosmic flow. Our left brain identifies individual things by shifting its perception in such a way that it can compare, critically analyze, and distinguish minute differences in the structure and texture of particles in flow. In addition to viewing the external world at the level of things, through refinement and higher levels of differentiation, our left brain defines the edges of where we begin and end as individuals. It does this by manufacturing a holographic image of ourselves, so we can delineate between what is inside of us and what is outside of us. When this happens, our left brain perceives the physical world as separate and concludes there is an external reality and an internal reality. The external world and our relationship with it move to the forefront of our focus because now we are separate from the whole. This means we are no longer safe, because with life and separation from the cosmic flow comes the threat that there is now something we can lose, which is the me-self as the center of the universe, as well as life itself. Because we have become the center of our own universe, our left brain ego cells come online and begin organizing everything in the external world around our individuality. At the same time, our left thinking brain is manipulating data in both linear and methodical formats. It is simultaneously laying down new neural connections in response to novel stimulation. Life is an ongoing event, and the more we learn, the more our left brain wants to learn. Neuroplasticity is the ability of our brain cells to rearrange which other neurons they are communicating with, and this underlies our ability to learn new material. Because our brain is a product of both its nature and our nurture of it, we have the power to voluntarily change the cellular structure underlying our thoughts and feelings. For humanity, this means that for the first time in the history of life on this planet, as far as we are aware, we have the power to direct our own evolution to a higher level of intercommunication. Our reptilian brain. When we examine the functions of our reptilian brainstem structures, we can be grateful for their high level of automation. Thank goodness, we do not have to tell our heart to beat or encourage it to race faster in the face of danger. Consider how exhausting it would be if we had to consciously remind ourselves to breathe. Our reptilian inheritance specializes in these fundamental activities, as well as regulating our body temperature, managing our balance, and driving our need to mate. From a psychological perspective, our reptilian structures are all about our instinctual survival, and many of these circuits operate like on-off switches. Because these functions are necessary for our survival, the reptilian part of our brain is both rigid and compulsive, in that once a circuit is turned on, it will stay on until it is either satiated or exhausted. For example, I feel hunger until it is satisfied. I am thirsty until my thirst is satiated. It is fascinating to me that this part of my brain has to tell me to stop drinking water or I will drink myself to death. Thanks to my brain stem cells, I am not tired until my brain shuts down my alert response and floods me with neurochemicals that make me sleepy. When I wake up, it is because I have an amazing group of cells specifically designed to arouse me. We do know that when the brainstem transfers its well-organized data up to the emotional tissue of our characters 2 and 3, it is their job to modify and refine that data by streaming it through the filter of emotion, as we are feeling creatures who think, rather than thinking creatures who feel. Our left brain emotional character number 2 will eventually transfer much of its information up to our left thinking character 1, while our right brain emotional character 3 will send its information up to our right thinking character 4. Our 2 thinking brains will then regulate those emotional characters as well as share their unique temporal modes of consciousness. The limbic emotional cells positioned in our 2 hemispheres receive direct inputs from our reptilian anatomy. However, although our left and right emotional brains receive the same information from our brain stem cells, they process it in very different ways. Anxiety and fear. Physiologically speaking, just as our reptilian brain processes pain, aggression, pleasure, and our drive to mate, our 2 emotional brains are each committed to our self-preservation. They both seek to regulate our body's response to emotional stimulation and activate our fight, flight, or freeze automatic response, as they deem appropriate. The cells of our emotional system have the ability to increase our heart rate when we are nervous, afraid, or excited, as well as influence both the rate and depth of our breath. In addition, we are completely dependent on our emotional tissue, specifically the cells of our hippocampi, 1 in each hemisphere, to create memories. It is important to note that our amygdalae have an antagonistic relationship with our hippocampi, in that when our amygdalae sound the alarm, our hippocampi shut down and we are no longer capable of learning and memorizing new information because we are too busy managing an emergency. Imagine how impossible it would be for a child who is living with high stress, amygdala alert, to try to learn anything at all when her learning brain has neuroanatomically shut down. To put it as simply as possible, our brainstem, including the midline-midbrain region, sends information directly to the emotional cells of our 2 amygdalae. We have 1 amygdala in each of our 2 cerebral hemispheres, and it is their job to make an automatic threat assessment based on how something feels. At the most basic level, it is the job of our amygdalae to conceptually ask moment by moment, am I safe? This safety may be either physical or emotional. The left amygdala tissue of our character 2 module receives the information about the present moment and then immediately compares that information with our past experiences. Feeling creatures who think. A lot of neuroscience research has been dedicated to mapping the connections between the cells in the brainstem and higher brain structures. At the same time, it has been challenging for scientists to tease out the whole story of what exactly is going on at this juncture between our brainstem cells and the newly added on emotional tissue of our mammalian limbic system. Although we are quite clear on the function of many of the brain stem cell groups because of the sheer density of fibers in this area, combined with the limitations we have in performing tracking research on living humans, some connections remain a mystery. The 4 characters in our brain. The differences between the 2 hemispheres are far greater than simply the underlying anatomy, physiology, and resultant skill sets. My experience of losing my left brain and then rebuilding it over the course of 8 years taught me that in addition to executing opposite abilities and constructing different realities, each of my 2 hemispheres is the home to very specific and predictable characters. However, just knowing your 4 characters is not enough. The ultimate goal is for your 4 characters to become so familiar with one another that they create healthy relationships among themselves. Once this happens, your 4 characters will collectively function as a healthy team that is armed with all of your genius and natural abilities. Our brain's left hemisphere is the primary tool we use to interact with the external world. On the morning of the stroke, those cells making up the networks of my character 1 left thinking brain were swimming in a pool of blood that rendered them completely non-functional. Besides losing a group of skill sets that were dependent on those brain cells to function, as I mentioned earlier, when my left thinking network went offline, a specific part of my personality, a character that I had known for decades as my ego self, also disappeared. When my character 1 left thinking cellular network was incapacitated, I could no longer identify the physical boundaries of where I began and where I ended. I have to say that even as a neuroanatomist, I had never been taught that there was a group of cells in my brain that did that. With those cells offline, I perceived myself to be a gigantic ball of energy that blended fluidly with the rest of the energy in the universe. I felt so vast that I believed I would never be able to squeeze the enormousness of myself back inside this tiny little body. A snapshot of your character 1 organizes everything, even my spice rack, alphabetized, and my stapler and scissors are put back where they belong. Categorizes well. The clothes in my closet are grouped by season, and my garage drawers and shelves are labeled, is naturally mechanical. I'm good at assembling IKEA furniture and Christmas presents for the kids. I really appreciate a good set of instructions, and a clearly written manual thrills me. Is neat. Appearances matter. So I check my clothes, hair and makeup before I get out of my car or jump onto a Zoom call. Plans well. I run a tight schedule and leave time for the unexpected so I can be on time. I pay attention to quantities, so there is always a backup in the closet or pantry. Respects authority. I know exactly where I fall on the ladder of hierarchy. I respect those above me and may dismiss or be in charge of. Critically judges right, wrong, good, bad. I strive to be moral, and it is important to me to be right. Is detail-based. I am excellent with details, exact with numbers, and an overall perfectionist in everything I do. Counts everything, whether it is the number of stairs as I descend, the amount of money in my wallet, or someone's failures I am keeping track. Is protective. I divide people into we and they. I protect my we against their they. We are right and they are wrong. We are better than they are, and our needs are more important. If your character 1 is having a hard time wrapping its mind around the validity or existence of the consciousness of character 4, I recognize that it is natural for character 1 to possibly judge the unfamiliar, unknown, and mystical as woo-woo. Yet, throughout the history of man, and in varied cultures around the world, humans have designed techniques, tools, and strategies ranging from religious dogma and prayer to meditation and yoga to access this realm of consciousness and experience their character 4. Carl Jung spoke of the self as the archetypal part of ourselves that was the unification of our unconsciousness with our consciousness. We know it is there, but how to access it has been the challenge, and each of the characters goes about this in different ways. Note that we observe our character 1 in the wild. In some cases we will distinguish between our soft one, which occurs when our character 1 is absent of emotion, and our hard one, which is generated in response to an alarm sounded by the deeper left brain emotional tissue of our character 2. As this implies, when played in isolation, our soft one tends to be kind, thoughtful, relatively available, and a great team builder. Our hard one, on the other hand, is generated in response to an emotional upset to our character 2. Consequently, our hard one comes online feeling as though it is managing an emergency, because it is doing just that, even if the emergency is only inside of its own mind. Fortunately, the majority of character 1s that I interact with are soft ones, who are organized, competent, efficient, and also kind. Sometimes, if we are brought up in an environment where our emotional alarm is routinely triggered, our character 1 gets trained to be a hard one. As a leader in business, however, we must distinguish between the leadership styles of the hard and soft character 1s. The hard one will lead a group like a cattle driver who circles the herd and drives the working team with a prod from behind. The hard one is the leader of the team, not a part of the team. The soft one, in contrast, leads a team like a shepherd, who circulates among their flock, helping them as they go. The hard one leader is an influential critical thinker, who leads their team based on vetted ideas and data. They value their team as a workforce rather than as a group of people. For the hard one leader, there are real consequences for success and failure. They value reason and believe emotions don't belong in the workplace. The hard one considers emotions to be a vulnerable weakness in both themselves and in others. The hard one leader is the head of the pack, not interested in connecting with the worker beyond the task at hand. They have a great poker face in the middle of chaos and uncertainty, so the team is never really privy to the true status of the overall project. Because the hard one authoritatively directs the project from above and keeps the big picture of the project from the team, workers are kept in a small state of mind. This helps the hard one maintain authority, as it is virtually impossible for anyone on the team to knowledgeably challenge the wisdom of their leader when they don't really know what is going on. Due to their nature, character 1s must create order in the space around them, and they value neatness because appearances matter. Everything a character 1 does is deliberate because if something is worth doing, it is worth doing well. Time has value, so character 1s are not only punctual but often arrive a few minutes early. You can be certain that the character 1s who arrived before you noticed if you were late. Character 1s value material goods, buy quality products, take care of their things, and are sure to give you the stink eye if you don't put the staples back from where you took it. Our left-thinking character 1 is good at earning, organizing, and investing money, and is excellent at both self-promotion and confrontation. By design, character 1s are gifted, rational thinkers with a strong mastery of reality, so they reason their way to their best decision. Because they have taken the time to deliberate why they think what they think, they take responsibility for what they do. If there is a perfectionist inside of your brain, rest assured it is your character 1. Thank goodness our human brain has evolved to have the character 1 skill set. Because of their organizational skills, in government, academia, and business, we exist in an orderly society. Because our left brain thrives on separating and dividing everything into categories so it can create order and make sense in the external world, it decided that science and spirituality are two subjects that are so polarized that they both cannot exist. As a scientist, I never understood this frame of mind, because science is the strategic tool that we use to explore what we do not understand. And clearly, we do not understand the realm of our right brain. Unfortunately, the scientific method which good scientists are supposed to use to perform quality research is by definition a linear-based method that the left brain has designed so it can measure everything and replicate an experiment in order to test a hypothesis. This is quite limiting, of course, since the scientific method as it currently stands is only available to prove and validate things in the external world of our character 1. We can only use a linear technique to study linear phenomena. If something is not measurable, or if experimental results cannot be replicated, our left brain will often either choose to deny its existence or negate its value altogether. The key to our peace. Getting to know our character 2 and learning how to nurture it with all of our characters in the Brain Huddle is how we will become healthy. I like to think about our left brain emotional character 2 as our superhero, because it was so mighty that it was willing to shift out of the known, away from the familiar, away from its connection with God, the infinite being, the cosmic consciousness, whatever you are comfortable calling it, to exist in a whole new realm of consciousness as an isolated individual. Our character 2 sacrificed its own peace of heart so we could evolve. The primary job of our emotional character 2 is to filter out immediate danger and simultaneously help us focus our attention. These cells act by making comparisons and then attracting us toward things we want and repelling us away from things we don't want. At a cellular level, the power of our human brain is in our ability to inhibit automated circuitry and discern which circuits we want to run versus which circuits we view as a distraction. There is a mountain of neuroscience research that supports the idea that our left brain is the source of our happiness, and I agree with this completely. I do want to point out, however, that happiness is not the same as joy. Although both happiness and joy are positive emotions, they are very different psychologically and neuroanatomically. As many have observed, joy is cultivated from within. It comes when we make peace with who we are, why we are, and how we are, whereas happiness is contingent on external things, people, places, thoughts, and events. Because our experience of happiness is dependent on external circumstances, our character too is the natural underlying circuitry of that happiness or lack thereof. For many of us, when our character too is negatively triggered because this is a part of our stress circuitry, it tends to feel like a bolt of anxiety, fear, or emotional pain. Instead of our being in control of this character and choosing to run it on purpose, this character is apt to leap right in and almost violently take over our consciousness. Once character 2 has stormed into our psyche, getting into another character requires a plan. This is clearly the perfect time for our 4 characters to take a brain huddle. Learning to master getting this character supported and instantaneously under control is the key to successfully managing our emotional reactivity. Who among us has not secretly wished that we could just pluck this character 2 part of our brain right out so we could escape our emotional pain from the past? Who among us has not sought therapy or guidance from professionals to help us fix, manage, or psychoanalyze why we are the way we are and why we feel the way we feel? It is this audacious character 2 who faces our deepest fears and sounds our alarm for danger in the only way it knows how. It wails, it whines, it cheats, it schemes, it's selfless, it gets jealous, it gets angry, it feels guilt and shame. And it acts out in a million antisocial ways to get our attention. Our left and right brain, emotional characters 2 and 3, can throw a temper tantrum at any age, because the cellular networks of our emotional system never mature. In addition, the cell bodies of our emotional brains are already in position and relatively well hooked up in circuits by the time we are born. As a result, we are wired to express ourselves emotionally as soon as we arrive in the external world. This is not true for our thinking cells. Snapshot of your character 2. Anger, name-calling. If I get upset and can't resist calling you nasty names, my character 2 has possessed my brain and is out of control. In these moments, it is wise for me to push the pause button so I can give myself 90 seconds for a successful brain huddle timeout. Deceives. When my left brain character 2 deceives, it is going to tell a lie. It tells my right brain to not show our deception in the tone of my voice or in the expression on my face. At this point, my right brain will either cooperate or give me away. Feels guilty. If I feel bad for not sending that sympathy card or for not helping that little old lady cross the street, my character 2 is online. Internalizes shame. When I feel as though I am not good enough or I am not worthy of being loved, my character 2 is dominant. It is so important to remember that the brain huddle is just a thought away. Loves conditionally. If I am generous with my love only when people are doing what I want them to do, this is how my character 2 loves conditionally. Negative self-judgment. That voice inside that tells us we are not worthy of total joy and everything good that life has to offer is our character 2. This voice can be really critical and say degrading things to us about ourselves, and when it speaks, it is usually the loudest and trumps all the others. Anxious. When I am filled with fret and worry about something that could possibly happen, I feel horribly uncomfortable inside my skin. Whines. Oh no, please, little character 2, please stop. Brain huddle or maybe a cuddle? Egocentric. To my character 2, we are the center of the universe, and our needs are all that matter because we are the most important. Didn't you get the memo? Blames. It's all your fault that I'm unhappy, or broke, or unemployed, or. Without the linearity of time that my left brain cells had so effectively engineered, all I had was the vastness of the present moment. Unlike the hero in the hero's journey, who willingly chose to sit down the sword of his left brain ego, mine was involuntarily stripped away, as I unwittingly shifted into the unconscious realm of my right brain. In the absence of a functional left brain, I was rendered as inept as an infant. The loveliest part of losing my left brain, emotional character 2, which we will talk about in the next chapter, was the complete absence of anger and fear. Without any of the left brain memories from my past overshadowing the present moment experience of my right brain, I shifted into a state of blissful euphoria. Character 3. Right brain emotional. The most fundamental level, our emotional left brain character 2 determines our current level of safety by bringing in information about the present moment and then comparing that stimulation to threats from our past. Our right brain character 3, on the other hand, assesses the threat in the present moment based completely on the information it is processing in the here and now. As a result, our right brain character 3 brings a crucial and unique skill to how we process threats. Because our right brain character 3 perceives everything as interconnected and in the flow of all that is, it provides us with the big picture, bird's eye view of danger, whether that threat relates to the people around us or our environment. When it comes to assessing how safe we are in the presence of another person, our right brain character 3 is a well-honed truth detector. It reads body language, matches it with facial expression, and then interprets the emotional cues of inflection of voice and vocal intonation. When all those pieces of the puzzle fit together appropriately, we interpret that behavior as true. Character 3 in the world. Our right brain emotional character 3 is like a puppy that is always watching every move you make, ready to pounce the moment you reach for the leash, toy or football. Our character 3 is the virtuoso, who is eager to practice for hours and hours on end at whatever brings it joy and thrills its soul. This part of our brain sees possibilities instead of limitations. Everything is about the connection with myself or with others, and as I practice, I am constantly tweaking and correcting until it feels right. What can I do in this moment to strengthen my stride or deepen my breath so I can get a better outcome. Our character 3 is witty and hilarious. We will laugh so hard that we stomp the ground as we gasp for more air. For example, today somebody sent me this GIF and I had to laugh so hard because she wrote, "would not be good for migraine." That was my reaction, and this was my character 3 that laughed so hard. Wide open, emotionally, and in the present moment. A snapshot of your character 3. Forgiving. We are interested in connecting with others in the present moment and are willing to forgive easily so we can reconnect with them at the heart level. Awe-inspired. We exude excitement about everything that is happening in the right here, right now, because life is such an amazing gift. And every moment is filled with amazing possibilities. Playful. We are radiating life and every moment is exciting. Being alive is so delicious that we just want to eat up every experience. And there is nothing better than sharing a playful moment with someone else. Empathic. We are so connected to one another that I can feel your joy as well as your pain. I am able to stand here by your side because your pain does not scare me. I am connected to you. I care about you. I love you, and we are never alone. So this actually means that we have to concentrate on the present moment. Maybe listen to our heart. Just become silent, and then you switch into the character 3. And that's where you feel this empathy. And I must say, I'm really quite often in that character 3. Because it's also creative. If I take this and I do that with it, I will come up with something completely new. That is so cool. Want to help me? Joyful. I just want to laugh and play and go get a good adrenaline rush. Want to join me? Curious. Let's explore this and let's go try that. And did you catch that clue? I wonder where it leads. Style. I will be wearing my favorite striped top and comfy plaid bottoms, or one of my favorite Brain branded shirts for sure. Matching? What do you mean matching? Hopeful. No matter what, I'm here with you and we will get through this together. It will be okay. I got your back, whatever happens. Experiential. I love how different experiences feel inside of my body. I'm very sensitive to my physiological response to what is going on in my life, and I listen to my gut and intuition. We are energy beings, having a physical experience, and we are not simply vibrational receivers or mechanical achievers through the use of our muscles and limbs. Instead, we have the power to organize our thoughts and communicate via language using the vibrational tones of our voices, as well as many of the more subtle forms of communication that we discussed as gifts of our character 3. The energy that fuels the movements of the planets and stars is the exact same energy that forms the consciousnesses of both the overall universe and our character 4. There is no division in the particulate matter that makes up everything, and it is all in motion. Character 4. Right brain thinking. Welcome to our character 4. I say our because this is the part of our consciousness, our right thinking brain, that we share with one another and all other life. I see the brain cells underlying our character 4 as the portal through which the energy of the universe enters into and fuels every cell of our body. This energy and its consciousness fill up our entire being. We are swimming in it, and it is swimming in us. There is no separation. Our character 4 is the all-knowing intelligence from which we came, and it is how we incarnate the consciousness of the universe. There are so many wonderful poets and musicians who have iterated the bliss of our character 4. Beautiful souls who have seen themselves in the reflection of God, not separate from it, and then shared that with the rest of us. The gift of poetry, in the form of music, fluidly seeps meaning into the distant crevices of our being, and nothing has ever more completely summed up the soul of my character 4 than singer-songwriter Carrie Newcomer's bare to the bone. Here I am without a message, here I stand with empty hands, just a spirit tired of wandering, like a stranger in this land, walking wide-eyed through this world, is the only way I've known, wrapped in hope and good intentions, and bare to the bone, just as our character 4 can profoundly influence our use of language to converse in deep and soul-stirring ways. This part of our consciousness is open, aware, and accepting that everything is exactly as it should be. Our character 4 does not judge, it simply celebrates with wonder the life that it lives. Character 4 in the world. Our left brain characters 1 and 2 interpret the space between any two things to mean that they are separate. Science teaches us that there is an electromagnetic field of atoms and molecules that surrounds us, and that we exist within it, and it exists within us. Our left brain is unaware of the sea of energy, because a small group of cells in our parietal region defines the boundaries of our body, surmising the separation. How different would our world be if we understood that we have the power, through our thoughts and emotions, to influence this field of energy? Perhaps gaining this insight into whole brain living is humanity's collective hero's journey, and how we will evolve as a species to live our lives with purpose. A snapshot of our character 4. Aware. I am connected to all that is. I am aware that I share the same consciousness as everything around me, and that I am in it, and it is in me. We influence one another, even though we cannot see it. We can train ourselves to feel it and know it. Expansive. I am open to possibilities and value the big picture and wholeness of my existence. I do not fear the absence of my ego self, because I know that I am perfect, whole, and beautiful just the way I am. We exist in the energy of the One. Connection. In the consciousness of the cosmic flow, I embrace the timeless, all-knowing part of myself that is connected to all that is. I resonate in this space when I meditate or pray. Each one of us is a neuron in the network of humanity, and we are intricately connected. At the molecular level as a part of the flow. Accepting. I can either accept life on its own terms and feel peace, knowing that everything is as it should be, or I can be attached to how I want things to be and suffer when reality does not match my preconceived vision. Intention. I set my intention and trust that everything is connected and in flow. When I use the power of my heart and mind to manifest something, I'm using the power of myself to shift the arrangement of the atoms and molecules in space and stay on course. Vulnerability. Stepping into life as a consciousness of the universe, I can step into the nakedness of my character 4 and stand strong in my vulnerability. When I let you see who I am, I empower you to do the same. I hook into my character 4's consciousness that exists in the eternal flow when I shift my mind into the present moment, focus on my breath, and feel my heart expand to connect with the breeze that both brushes my face and simultaneously rustles the leaves on the trees. When this happens, I shift out of my left brain's perceived boundaries and melt into the energy. I become the movement of the flow and shift into being that elusive thing. I am not only the leaf, but I am the energy that moves the leaf. I am not just the bird that soars. I am the energy that lifts the wing so the bird can pivot even higher. I am not just the kiss of the breeze upon my face, but I am the warmth within it. I am not just the purr of a kitten, but I am the energy of love that radiates in that vibration. It is reassuring to note that a lot of really creative research is currently going on that is both stretching the boundaries of the scientific method and building a bridge between the dogma of science and the experience of spirituality. The consciousness of our character 4 is our constant companion, as it is the energy within which we exist. This consciousness is woven into every cell of our body and every molecule in the universe. It is the energy ball within which we live and breathe and have our being. It is the source of our life, and it is the experience we yearn to achieve through various practices. Our character force consciousness is the most distant destination of our hero's journey, and returning to this consciousness is a coming home to our precious and most peaceful self. Our character 4 is our authenticity, as it is the part of ourselves that we share with the One. The consciousness of this microcosmic flow remains omnipotent and omnipresent. We never left it, we are never without it. And it is the river of peace that flows through our veins. We embody this peace when we tune into the consciousness of our character 4. However, in order to do this, we must quiet the thoughts of our character 1, which is obsessed with the details of life in the external world. We must settle the emotional volatility and reactivity of our character 2 and distract our focus away from the experiential sensations being processed by our character 3. These 3 characters make a lot of noise inside our head, and we need to quiet it all down if we are going to expand in the consciousness of our character 4. My left brain characters eventually recovered and came back online. My left thinking character 1, as I mentioned earlier, wanted to take over and be the boss inside my head again. But although she had been both an effective and brilliant part of my pre-stroke life, and I had achieved a high level of success under her leadership, I was no longer motivated by the external factors of money and prestige that she valued. Although I knew I would have to earn a living again, my right brain characters valued a more peaceful life, at a slower pace, with more time spent sharing deep and meaningful connections with my family and friends. Let's do it with a full understanding about the different parts of our brain and the power we have to use our thoughts to change the anatomical structure of the cells underlying those thoughts. We can do this through meditation and mindfulness, of course, and by using the Brain Huddle, we can strengthen the relationships between our 4 characters, making that level of open communication the norm inside of our brain. I shall share with you a 5-step process that I call the Brain Huddle, whereby we consciously take a pause, call all 4 characters into our awareness, and then together as a team contemplate our next best move. I will encourage you in practice the Brain Huddle in everyday moments, so you can train your brain to make important decisions swiftly and skillfully. If you are willing to train your 4 characters to function as a team during the benign moments of your life, when you are in duress, you will have that skill available. When the pressure is on and your character 2's stress circuitry is running on overdrive. In moments like those, when you can barely think because the chemicals of anxiety or fear are flooding through your bloodstream and overwhelming your circuitry, this brain acronym can beam like a bright neon light, reminding you of the steps you can take to call your brain team together so you can find your way back into the peace of your right brain. For now, here is a quick preview of the steps we will take to do a brain huddle. Breathe and focus on your breath. This enables you to hit the pause button, interrupt your emotional reactivity, and bring your mind to the present moment with a focus on yourself. Recognize which of the 4 character circuitry you are running in the present moment. Appreciate whichever character you find yourself exhibiting, and appreciate the fact that you have all 4 characters available to you at any moment. Inquire within and invite all 4 characters into the huddle so they can collectively and consciously strategize your next move. Navigate your new reality with all 4 characters bringing their best game. You will no doubt realize that these 5 steps of the Brain Huddle spell out brain. All quotes by Jill Bolte Taylor. Most of them from Whole Brain Living, The Anatomy of Choice and the 4 Characters that Drive Our Life. What a fascinating book. And it truly helps you understand your brain and how to navigate between those 4 characters. Which actually brings to mind another book by Zen Master Dehen Kunsunin. In 2007, I was in a vulnerable place. I had a burnout and I was really feeling beside myself. And this is the one book that I read over and over and over, at least 10 times, I think. No river to cross, trusting the enlightenment that's always right here. It is often said that enlightenment means crossing over to the other shore, meaning the right brain, that far-off place where we can at last be free from suffering, which is not so far off, actually. It's right inside your head. It is said that Buddha's teachings are the raft that takes us there. In the sparkling collection from one of the most vital teachers of modern Korean Buddhism, Zen Master Dehen shows us that there is no raft to find and truly no river to cross. She extends her hand to the Western reader, beckoning each of us into the unfailing wisdom accessible right now. The enlightenment that is always already right here. A Zen or Son, as Korean Zen is called, master with impeccable credentials, Daeheng has developed a refreshing approach. No river to cross is surprisingly personal. It's disarmingly simple, yet remarkably profound, pointing us again and again to our foundation, our true nature, the perfection of things just as they are. True bowing means keeping yourself humble and respecting Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and sages, but at the same time know that their mind and your mind are not two, and never lose your determination and resolution. Accordingly, even if you pray for the help of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you have to make the focus of that prayer within yourself. If your heart is extremely sincere, you may be able to have some experiences and achieve a certain amount of good fortune. But as long as you are searching outside of yourself, your efforts can never result in true virtue and merit, nor will you achieve the great goal. We bow to Buddha because Buddha's mind and our fundamental mind are not two. Also, bowing is surrendering your physical body and your thoughts of I. Therefore, when bowing, you should always try to be quiet, humble, and extremely sincere, and be grateful for everything.